Hi, my name is Shawn Shaler, and this is my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. And we have a ton of very exciting stuff for you today. An exciting episode of the TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender, as well as an exciting episode, hopefully directly related, of the podcast. And we will get to breaking that down, but we got a few things we're going to cover first. As always, first we'll jump into some news and nonsense, or at least that's what I like to call it, starting with some of Chris's latest videos. He's gotten a few out since the last time we have talked. Then talk just a little bit about the Electronic Entertainment Expo, aka E3, aka terrible misnomer. Not a lot of electronic entertainment outside of video games. Probably not a great name for it. And then finally, we're going to have a stellar debate. Maybe not a super long one, but I think super stellar debate about Toph versus Bumi. Who is the better Earthbender? And we're going to do all that. Then we're going to break down the episode step by step like we always do. Should be a lot of fun. It's one of our favorite episodes, I think, and we're really looking forward to this debate. And a lot's happened since the last time we met. So that being said, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I am very excited to be back. I feel like it's been a while since we recorded. You know, I've been a little bit busy on YouTube and stuff, and haven't got to sit down with you in a while. So that's exciting.
And I think my schedule has normalized. That's exciting, maybe. I'm going to answer that question mark and say, no, that's a statement. My setup and my schedule is kind of normalized a little bit. I'm done with my travel for work until like October, so that's pretty exciting. Done moved into my house, so all those crazy things that are making life very long and tiring are done for a while. I'm in the new setup. You can't see a lot behind me except for a very old television, but I'm in my new
It's
working.
a nice new setup.
Yeah, it's very exciting new blank wall back there. All the interesting stuff is over there naturally, and someday I'll give you a tour. Long story short, I'm very happy to be in here, and my schedule has normalized, so I think we'll be back on an every other week train for the foreseeable future, and that's very exciting. So
Cool.
hey, it's going to be a really long episode because there's lots of fun stuff in it. With that, let's go ahead and get started with what your latest videos have been, how they've been doing.
Doing good. I feel like I'm making a lot of good progress, building a little bit of community on YouTube. I'm up to like 500 and something subscribers. So I'm really proud about that. Like, some people might think that's a short accomplishment. Honestly, really, really happy to have people who clicked on my stuff and said, yeah, I'll subscribe to him. Some of my recent videos out, got a lot of movie reviews. Did a 2-minute review of Dark Phoenix. I did a review of Aladdin, which I absolutely loved. More Avatar-related videos. I have a video about lava bending out and completely explaining it, that it's not just firebender genes that can help you lava bend, but it's an earthbender technique, and it thoroughly explains it. And also I theorize of who could be a future lava bender. And then also have a video comparing General Iroh, the Fire Nation, to King Hero of the Dragon Prince, and how they are very similar characters that can really teach people life lessons. So definitely check all those out.
Couple of things there. First of all, I love the Hero Iroh comparison, and I'm so excited for another season of the Dragon Prince. Number two, in the world of YouTube, where I forget, I saw a statistic. It was just the statistic was the number of people with YouTube channels that produce content, like more than once a month. It's insane. So the fact that 500 or however many people would get to yours and actually take the time to subscribe, you have every right to be extremely proud of that, because there's too much stuff out there, and people are still finding yours. So that's very exciting. And number three, the Aladdin Dark Phoenix. It's funny that I haven't seen the Aladdin movie yet. I think Will Smith as Aladdin is weirdly way more polarizing than I thought he would be. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, Genie. He can be Aladdin too.
Yeah, Will Smith as Aladdin would be very polarizing.
That'd be kind of weird, wouldn't it? No, it's been weirdly polarizing. I hear you said. I think your quote was, "I'll take it out of your mouth if I can." I don't think anybody could have filled the role better than Will Smith, or something to that effect. And then I see these other people that are like, I want to say people that were uncomfortable with it, and I was like, well, it's not Robin Williams. Of course it's going to be different. Like, what do you expect? Robin Williams and Will Smith are both very unique actors. There's not a graceful transition there. You just Had to find somebody that can give his own spin on it and do well. I haven't seen it. I have no opinion. I usually align with your opinion. I'm sure I would in this case as well. People who
It's the dictatorship. We must all have the same opinion.
Wait, what?
On this podcast.
I was just really surprised. I just assumed that people would like Will Smith and not feel maybe super strongly one way or the other. Like, oh, Will Smith is his genie. That's nice. And no, it was the opposite. Everybody's like, I love him, or like, this is weird. Calm down. It's a movie. That's what it is. And I didn't watch your Dark Phoenix video, and I probably won't because I haven't liked any of the reviews or anything I've read about that movie. So I'll like your video, and then I won't watch it.
The thing is like, I left the movie and I was like, man, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this movie, so I'm going to purposely experiment and do a 2-minute review of it. That way, I don't have to do that much editing. I can just, and I still did some editing, but I can just easily get it out and people can watch.
What a nice time to experiment, though, than with a movie that looks like it's heading straight towards the bottom of many clearance bins. And I'm so disappointed because, as you know, I'm not real big in the Marvel. X-Men's kind of the one place in Marvel where I feel like I have a home frequently, and I have not liked either of the past 2 movies. So it's a little frustrating, but such is life. Anyway, yeah, go check out Chris's videos. That's The Objective Geek on YouTube. Quickly growing. Lots of various content on there. And just thinking about it just gets me all excited for the next season of Dragon Prince, so you can get back into some reviews of that. It's very exciting. And next up, Electronic.
Yeah, and also.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
With that video, so I shared it, Iro and Hero, and I tagged Giancarlo Volpe, who was a director on Avatar, and he is an executive producer on the Dragon Prince. And also shared it with Aaron E. Haas, who's the head writer on Avatar and creator of the Dragon Prince. He didn't say anything back to me. But Giancarlo Volpe did actually see the video, and he said, like, oh, man, it was really good stuff here, really insightful. Thanks for sharing. So he didn't have to say that. So he actually watched my video, and I'm really proud of that video. So go and be like an executive producer of Avatar or the Dragon Prince and watch the video.
Chris, that's your second famous friend of your channel. That's pretty exciting.
I know.
That's your number 2 famous friend. And hey, we have some friends of the podcast now too. That's very exciting. In the past few weeks, we've had 2 real life humans reach out to us and tell us they like our podcast, which based on the tens of viewers, I will go out on a limb and say that surprises me. But some very nice people out there. And just a reminder of like, hey, we're doing it for fun, but maybe somebody out there actually clicks on it, enjoys it, and that's pretty cool. So thanks, people who actually listen. Yes. Very much appreciated. And thank you for the compliments.
Very much appreciated. You guys didn't have to do that, and really means a lot, so thank you.
Absolutely. I tweet at my friends a lot, and they don't even favorite it sometimes. Like, come on, just hit the little heart for me. Let me know you read it. So somebody else to go out of their way to do that, that makes me feel pretty good. I appreciate it. Sorry, my Windows Defender summary just popped up over there. Speaking of obtrusive noises, I have a horrible sinus infection, so at some point I'm going to sneeze directly into this microphone, and I'm really sorry. I'll try not to. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about E3, but it was a really good E3, especially for Nintendo's, and you and I are both, I wouldn't say Nintendo fanboys, but Nintendo fans in general. And it was... The only reason I even bring it up is because it's the first time in E3 history, it feels like, that it was even worth bringing up. Usually there's mostly dull or apathy or whatever, but Nintendo might be taking over the video game universe. It's very exciting. I know I'm excited about Dragon Quest characters being in Super Smash Brothers. I think it's going to be a little bit of like a Pokemon trainer deal where you pick which hero you want to be. Like they all have the same moveset.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then, as you are probably well aware, we're getting 2 Legend of Zelda games. Getting Link's Awakening remake coming up very soon. If you've never played the first one, it's really different. But if you put yourself in like a early 90s mood, it's fantastic. It's probably my second favorite Legend of Zelda game. And finally, Breath of the Wild sequel. And I know you're excited about those because you're a Legend of Zelda guy and a fellow Switch owner like myself.
I'm looking forward to Breath of the Wild. I'm really surprised that they did that. Usually, I feel like Legend of Zelda games don't have direct sequels. Like usually they come out with like one game per console. Or there's like another kind of smaller game, which was like dramatically has different animation. But no, this is a direct sequel.
The best theories I've heard so far is they put so much time into that world and that engine that they kind of wanted to do the Majora's Mask or versus Ocarina of Time thing, where they reuse that engine and that sort of world and landscape to build a direct sequel, just because of the amount of time they put into it.
That makes sense.
I'm not staking claim to that theory. It's pretty common theory on the internet, and it makes sense to me. It was a huge.
I hope it's better than Majora's Mask, because I really don't care for that game at all. It took me like several years to beat that game, not because of its difficulty, but because of my motivation to beat it.
I have not yet beat it. Anything with timers makes me really anxious, so I tend to avoid games with timers, except for sports games, but that's a totally different story. So, not to harp too much on E3. We're not really news people per se, but it was almost too good this year to ignore. And that's really exciting for the video game industry, or at least for Nintendo. Other people had good conferences as well, except for Bethesda and Ubisoft. Go ahead and punch those into YouTube and entertain yourself. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to harp on this too much either, but I do have a new game room. Hopefully going to get some setup going on back here. I'd love to take a tour someday. And then, Chris, I don't think you have ever just given us the walkthrough of your setup either. And so I thought maybe for a segment sometime on a slower week, we'll just walk our camera through the room and show off our wares. I thought that might be kind of fun for a few minutes. A little bragging.
Yeah, my basement will have to be clean. Right now, it's a pretty mess. Like,
I still got stuff all over the floor down here.
Terrible.
I have stuff all over the floor in here.
Like, there's like my daughter's toys right here. There's like a bunch of like free weights. There's a Rock Band drum. A stack of comic books I haven't read on my table. It's looking terrible.
That just sounds like a game room. That sounds like what that's supposed to be. It sounds like a nerd cave, and that's what that's supposed to be. My floor is actually the cleanest part because it's brand new flooring, but there's just junk and stuff laying everywhere. So sometime we'll give a tour. I think that'd be fun. Neither one of us are huge collectors in terms of collection size, but there's stuff worth looking at. All right, that's enough.
I feel like I have a pretty huge collection.
I'm always amazed. I think I have a big collection, and then I'll watch videos on YouTube, and I feel like I get put in my place a little bit. Like, you have nothing, Jon Snow. And then I'll just stop feeling good about myself for a while.
I just bought a Batwoman statue, and I also have a Batman statue right there that I don't know where to put it at because I'm just like out of room. But
speaking of Batman, I can't believe this didn't make the news. I really liked the Batman versus TMNT crossover video.
Oh,
thanks for letting me watch that. It was not amazing, but it was really cool. Like 4 out of 5, 9 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10 territory in my book. Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah, which is for me, like, so, I try to review movies as objectively as possible, taking out my own bias and preference. I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love Batman, and so like, my actual objective score doesn't necessarily reflect my love of the movie, because I gave it like a 7.6 out of 10. But like on my favorite part, like, I would watch this movie freaking 3 times a week. Like,
I can see
I love the interaction between these characters.
Like, if you force me to score, it's like, all right, maybe it's a B caliber movie, but I'm still gonna watch it frequently, and that's fine because I love both those characters, and it's one of the few comic books that I've actually read whatsoever. I don't read a ton of comics. I don't read a ton at all. I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. But that was really good. And I think I don't know. I don't have much else to say other than it was very exciting to see basically my 2 favorite animated sets of characters come together in a video. It was very exciting. Yeah. But hey, that's enough of all this nonsense. We've got a debate to get to. We should have discussed how to format this. So I'm going to let you lead the way. But let's get to debating. We've got a fight to pick, as do 2 of our favorite characters from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm going to let you lead this discussion.
Yeah, so first of all, we need to establish some ground rules here.
Hit me up. Hey, hey-o, hey-o. Did you practice that one? Did you play on that one?
Sort of.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Great. I appreciate that your jokes are really down to earth.
So the first time I laughed, I was laughing at the joke. The second time I was laughing at that joke. Because I was genuinely laughing at it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. No more bad jokes, I swear.
Man, yeah, we're off to a rocky start in this debate.
Oh no, Chris, you just scared away our last viewer. There they
I'm
go.
sorry. Okay.
There they go. Bye, super fans. Super fan. Sorry.
All right. So the general it's a simple fight, really. It's just a first fight. Who's gonna win? Toph versus Bumi. But there's a little bit of disclaimers here. Metal bending will not be allowed here. It's just pure who can beat each other in an earth bending fight. Just imagine them at just like maybe the Royal Rumble arena that we're going to talk about later. But they don't have the knockout rules. It's just they have earth all around them to use.
I think that's perfect. And are we okay with strictly TV show as a sort of canon material and knowledge?
Yeah, I mean I think that's enough. I don't think anything outside of that would really change the way I would perceive this fight at all. So I think the TV show should be sufficient.
Okay. I have a thought on that, but I will get to it when we get into the debate. But
Okay, cool.
all right, man.
So first of all, who I believe winner of this fight would be Boomy.
Do you want to lead
What's
off?
your
I would definitely take Toph. I would take Toph without hesitation. Without hesitation.
well
Would you
without
care to lead the debate,
so
or would you
the thing
care
is-
to me to go first?
yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. So there's probably two primary points to get at with Toph. And the first is based on what we know in the TV show. When they show Toph earthbending, they show her with this sort of supersonic sense of feel. And so on one hand, it's really
I knew
easy.
this was coming.
It's hey-o. All right. That's actually pretty good. I feel like I should have laughed at that harder. That was a good joke. So we like to picture Toph as this very offensive, aggressive person, but that I believe what that ability does for her defensive abilities, like when she's fighting against other types of benders, I believe there's enough evidence to show that she's able to sort of sense their movements in order to combat other types of bending. So it's not like she can only use her powers against other earthbenders. Like, she's so sensitive to it in a defensive way that I think that would be really hard to overcome, especially for another earthbender. And then number two is, I think within the TV show, and the point that I alluded to, within the TV show, we have way more proof of her abilities in combat, whether it's in one-on-one scenarios like we're about to see in this episode, or combat with Aang and the gang out in the real world. I think there's just a way better knowledge base of her abilities in combat and out there in the real world, whereas a lot of Boomies are kind of implied. So it's not necessarily a great argument for who would win, as much as I think there's way more evidence to Toph as a combative earthbender and being the better of the two. So the second part I'm not quite as sold on, other than from a material standpoint, what I have to work with. And those are my two biggest points with Toph. So it's sort of a superhuman ability and then just amount of material.
So when it comes to material, I think Boomy has some. I do think with the show, Toph maybe has. Actually, I think they're pretty close. So when it comes to Toph, I think some of her biggest earthbending accomplishments is that she held up the spirit library as it fell down.
Oh yeah,
and if you look at I'm giving you, good,
no, it's
material
it's
here.
Just a good discussion. Just a good discussion.
Yeah, it's a good but if you look at to scale Toph's size compared to the whole entire spirit library, she makes up 1,000th of of that whole place.
She's a pebble.
But that library is being held up by sand. If it was just Toph holding it up by her sheer own strength, she couldn't do that. She's not that strong. The sand is also slowing down the fall of this spirit library. Some of Boomy's greatest feats is he did take out Omashu, or he did take back Omashu completely by himself. He is earthbending huge freaking hills and factories from very long distances.
And that's
all
a great
by himself.
Episode too. Little foreshadowing into the future. That's a great episode.
Yeah. And also he took out plenty of firebenders during the Day of Black Sun, though they all got amplified their power by 10. He has nothing. That's just his base power. And one of the biggest things I think is going to help him defeat Toph. So I think strength-wise, they're fairly equal. And I think Bumi is also he's a mad genius, right? He can think in very unsporadic ways. Like he might use Toph's own sensing ability against him. Also, it's been theorized that he knows seismic sense. I'm gonna shout out another YouTuber here, Avatar Critic. He actually has a video about if Bumi has seismic sense, and Bumi sometimes does attack people without actually, like in that scene where he takes back Omashu, he does attack people without actually looking at them, but he attacks them. He's very direct with it. So maybe he has a little bit of seismic sense there also. Also, he practices all the gens of like Neutrogen, being able to wait and attack at the right moment. But so here's the main point that I think will help him defeat Toph. So Toph, of course, can sort of predict your next movement in that minor second that she can just sense your foot moving in just the slightest edge. Bumi has this advantage that I think is really understated. Not many people know this, that this is one ability that only him and Amon actually share. And that is the ability to bend through telekinesis. So to bend without actually doing arm movements or leg movements. Like they can just bend with their mind. So Toph can't see that coming. So I think Bumi can take advantage of that and beat her that way.
I'd say my argument, I do appreciate the knowledge about having seismic sense. I hadn't realized, it never really occurred to me that he probably had some semblance of that. And then another thing,
it's probably not on the same level at all of Toph's, because she has that.
She was born in the darkness, Chris.
Yes.
Bumi merely adopted it.
Oh, you think seismic sense is your ally?
You think eyesight is your ally?
But you merely adopted the duck. I was born in it.
How appropriate. How appropriate. I hate to toss a bone in your direction, but you gave some points for Toph. One thing that I will say for Bumi, it's a little bit easy to sort of discount because of just age. Like Toph clearly has some special talents, and we're in the middle of debating sort of who is more talented, and it'd be easy enough to write Bumi off as old, so just doesn't have his if you go into Korra, we can see how quickly some bending styles are progressing and things like that, where you feel like it gives a modern young person some edge. But what I'm getting at is it's weird to remember that age in the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe is not the same as age here. Like Bumi's well over 100 years old, but it doesn't affect him there like age affects us here. And just we've got some very old avatars, some very young avatars dying as well. But it was hard. Exactly. Loser. It's really hard for me to bring it up when I'm thinking about Toph being young, and maybe that's a detriment, but it's not. And no more than Bumi being old is a detriment. I would like to know if how public Bumi's abilities are. Like, it was a surprise to Aang when Aang picked Bumi to bend against. But what's the rest of the kingdom? Does the rest of the kingdom know that he's a powerful bender? Is that how he got to be a leader? Like, how did he get to be a leader? We don't get... Go ahead.
I was just wondering that same thing, because like being a king and Omashu seems like something you're just kind of like chosen to. Like, and Bumi looked pretty poor in that flashback with Aang.
He did. It was like a common really citizen appeal. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you see him when he's older, and he's like, before Aang realizes who he is, like he's dressed in like very lavish, garments and everything, like somewhat like Liberace style.
It's a little crazy. It's a little crazy.
Yeah.
And so
maybe he, and maybe you're getting to this point, maybe he like is so talented that he fought his way up, and people admired him so much that they made him king.
Something akin to that his talents got him to be a king. And all that really boils down to is us thinking, all right, well, they both do have a chip on their shoulder. I think we can imply that Bumi was poor and had a chip on his shoulder. I don't know how he got to power, but I think we can imply that he was a poorer citizen from what little appearance we have as a young person. And Toph obviously has a chip on her shoulder because she's like 3 feet tall and a blind girl. So She's rich, so it's a different kind of chip. And so all these points coming into play where it's like there's a lot of things that really level out in my mind. It's like, all right, do you take young, unique talent versus a literally century of experience, very unique abilities? Every time when I come back to the argument of who would win, I think even given what you said about Bumi being able to bend telekinetically, it's almost in my mind is like Toph is still too quick. Like she still feels it coming. I don't know how Toph would attack Bumi necessarily or how aggressive she'd be able to be, but it's hard to imagine her being struck by any type of earthbending attack that she wouldn't be able to redirect no matter how big or how fast. Like she's so in tune with her environment that even as aggressive as we know her as a character, that it would be really hard to land a shot through her defense. Ironically enough, I just can't see. I can't see how it happened. I didn't really consider the telekinetic, and that would probably help. But I still think unless he was right next to her, or spawned it, directly underneath her somehow or something, I'm not sure. It seems like she could just guard against everything that maybe normal Earthbenders wouldn't have the same sensitivity to. I guess the same reaction.
We already set the ground rules that we're going to stick to the show. I was about to bring up a fight she had.
We've had a long enough discussion. If you got to break some canon here, just teach me something.
Okay, so in the comic book Imbalance, which is a fine enough comic book. I don't really care for it all that much. But in comic book Imbalance Part 2, so there is an antagonist. Her name is Ling, and she's like this really talented earthbender. And her and Toph fight one-on-one, and it's fairly close to a stalemate. Which is like surprising. I feel like Toph should be able to like beat anybody. And so seeing that fight makes me think that Toph isn't as invincible as we all hype her up to be.
I certainly do that. Yeah. Not ashamed of it.
Yeah. Like sometimes people are like, oh, if Toph would have fought Fire Lord Ozai, the fight would have been over way too quickly. I'm like, that one thing story wise, that doesn't make any sense. Because like Aang is like Fire Lord Ozai is the big bad. Like Aang has to be the one to defeat the big bad. If Toph could just do it, like that would be ludicrous.
That's just people being crazy. I wonder if I still think that Toph's weaknesses would actually show up more against other types of bendings. Like she's proven that she can combat that, and that's part of my point. But I still think that it would show up more there. Like I don't know. Definitely. She's got a much better chance against other Earthbenders, I think.
I think against, like I completely agree with you. I think against water, like if Katara gets on top of water and just like flows around it, like that makes it that much harder for her. Against Aang, like we see, Ashley just listened to the commentary, watching this episode we're about to review, and they were saying like, oh yeah, Toph has never fought anyone besides an Earthbender, so when she fights Aang, like she has no idea where he's landing at or anything like that. A firebender, once they burn her feet, like she can't see at all.
Yeah. And I mean, like, so we get to a point in the series where she's combating against those things as well, but it's an adjustment. It's not an innate thing. I would like to introduce one point that I didn't actually see. Can we imply that maybe we can't, maybe it's too far, whatever, it's a discussion. So Bumi refers Aang to Toph as his teacher, which we're going to get into. It's kind of a too early segue. But Bumi is essentially saying you have to find a teacher that will show you how to wait and see before you attack to find an earthbending teacher. So can we imply that whether Toph is actively practicing those or not, that maybe she has the same understanding of that particular Jinn? I don't remember what number out of how many Jinn there
are. There was 87?
70 something? Actually, there's 87. Yeah, I don't remember. It's something in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, there's a 7 in the number, I think.
Yeah.
We'll have to fact later. Some investigative journalism there.
Yeah, well, long story short, like Bumi is straight up referring him. He doesn't specify better by any means, and I wouldn't try to go that far. But he is referring her specifically to someone who can teach him to wait and see. And it's not because of her teaching abilities, because she's not a teacher. I think it's because of her ability to wait and see before attacking.
Yeah, I think she definitely is a master of Neutrogen, which Bumi is probably also a master of. But
I would imagine so.
Guess, Toph does it even better. Like Aang sees that in the episode when she is literally listening to everything, using all of her senses, and then once she knows when to strike, that's when she does.
I'm just looking forward to that episode where Bumi takes back Omashu. That's a tremendous one. It's really high up on my list. But well, hey, in closing remarks, I would still stand by by my original judgment. It's so hard without I guess additional material. Like, we can't see this fight in this comic right here. If we could just see that wrapped up, just to learn a little more. But it's probably more fun left to the imagination, I suppose. But it's probably fair to say that they are the two most powerful Earthbenders that we meet in this series, and I don't think that part's debatable at all. Like, we don't see more powerful Earthbenders than these two. And it's a fight I would pay to watch in a ring, absolutely.
Sorry, now I'm just looking at the comic.
No, go ahead. Which one is that?
It is The Last Airbender, The Lost Adventures.
Excellent.
Oh wait, wrong way.
And
it has a bunch of little mini stories in here.
So they basically start to get into a fight, but then it's interrupted before it goes anywhere? Is that my...
Yeah, pretty much. So Suki is talking with Bumi, and she says, "I still can't believe you retook Omashu from the Fire Nation all by yourself. You really must be the greatest Earthbender of all time." And Bumi responds, "That's right." And then Toph is walking by. She says, "I'm sorry, I couldn't help but overhear you talking. Did you say this old guy is the best Earthbender ever?" "Actually, I think she said of all time." There's a little literal snort. And then they pretty much like, "Hey, we got to fight." So their trash talk. Their trash talk is, let's see, Toph says, "No offense, Pops, but just because you're as old as dirt doesn't mean you know how to bend it." And then the Boomy responds, "Little girl, I have toenails that can earth bend better than you." So, it's a very cool fight. And Sokka is hyping it up also.
He's the promoter in the background. That's the clip that I have. That's the clip that I have pulled up here, and I really liked that page. I read just a page or two of images online.
Oh, yeah.
And I did think it's like trash talk seems perfect for Toph. Pride does not seem out of place for Bumi, but trash talking in return seems out of place for Bumi. Like, I would picture him more just getting to a direct challenge. Like, she says that about him, and he's like, "All right, name the challenge your place." Like, I could see him going direct to action. Trash talk out of a 110-year-old man seems strange. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who am I to judge? Trash talk all you want, Boomy. Hey, I don't have any more remarks. I don't have any more evidence or material. I feel like it'd be a heck of a fight. What do you got to wrap up?
Yeah. I think before I was really thinking about this, it would just kind of been a tie. I think I would have slightly gave the edge to Bumi, because I think earthbending just comes down to strength. I think Bumi just has more strength than Toph does. Toph has great technique, but since we kind of omitted the metal bending here, I think Bumi, before I was thinking barely that Bumi would get the edge because of his strength. But then more I was thinking about it is like, oh yeah, he can earthbend with telekinesis. Like, he doesn't have to move. And I think that would give him even more of a slighter edge. And so I am heavily in the Bumi camp here.
That's fair. I wouldn't change my answer, but I did learn.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah.
I didn't recall at all that just the idea that Bumi even had the telekinetic bending abilities. That didn't really occur to me. It's funny that you mentioned the brute strength, though, like especially going into this episode about earthbending coming down to brute strength. And as a tiebreaker, I could see it, but it's funny to hear you say that going into this episode in particular. Like, it's all about brute strength, and we're about to meet this little girl. But no, when it comes to a tiebreaker in this case, like, all right, that would be a decent point to settle on. But hey, they're two of my favorite characters in the series, so I'm not about to trash either one too hard. And that's why, if I may segue, if you're prepared, that's why this is one of my favorite episodes in the series, because we finally get to meet Toph. It takes so long. We get to see Zuko be the blue spirit before we get to meet my favorite character in the series. Second favorite character, sorry. Hey, one more point to throw in, and that's that our fan and friend Jamie, she took my side with Toph, almost specifically based on how highly she valued I forget what you call it, the super sensory abilities. I just keep thinking of it as like sonar, seismic sensor or seismic sensing.
Seismic sense. Yeah, it's a lot like sonar.
She made a lot of great points, but it kept like she was able to sort of articulate her feelings on that far better than I was, and how that's useful in its sort of extreme sense. So it was really nice. Thanks, Jamie, for taking my side. Whether we won or lost, whatever, that's fine. But she had some great points, and if she were here to defend me, we would just talk over you until you went away.
Yeah, that might happen anyway.
It might happen. Anyway, so we just got done with the Avatar Day, and the Fire Nation attacked. I forget the name of that island where the horrible Chin the Conqueror used to live. And so we just got away from all that mess, and Aang has been forgiven, and now they're looking for an earthbending teacher. And Bumi said, you got to go find somebody who will teach you how to wait and listen, or wait and see before attacking. And so they end up in basically like a WWE stadium to watch this earthbending fighting. And just straight out of the gate, I know I'm gonna love this episode. Like I said, they basically walk into a giant arena where it's one-on-one earthbending. And I don't know what else to say. It's exactly what you'd picture. It's an arena with bleachers and a giant stone pillar in the middle where guys fight.
Yeah. As a person who was a big, huge fan of 90s wrestling, it brought back so many great memories. Like, because, you have those characters who are like the Rey Mysterio type character. It's funny, in the commentary, they do mention like this character with a mask. It's like, oh yeah, that's the Rey Mysterio type character. Like, he's really kind of shifty and stuff. And then you have like clear the villain. Like, you have the Fire Nation guy,
the heel,
yeah, who for some reason has a Russian accent.
Because all Russians are bad guys, Chris. We know that by this point in cinema history.
Oh my gosh, I'm not lying, Shawn. That's exactly what they said on the commentary. No, but
well, I'm assuming they said it like I say it in jest, and not as like a serious red scare thing.
Yeah. No, they're racist, Bryke.
We gotta stop watching this show now.
Yeah.
Just kidding. All jokes.
Yes, very much all jokes. And I just really enjoyed it. And then, of course, Sokka is just freaking eating all this stuff up. Like, so before we even get to that, like, I got to mention when they're trying to go look for a master, and Aang does find Master Zenfu, and he's like terrible. I mean, he's not terrible. He actually is a good earthbender, but he's not like a good teacher. He's more like those cheap teachers. It's like, oh, pay me, you can get upgraded to a black belt.
Like pyramid scheme class teacher kind of thing.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely.
Beautiful.
And then one of my favorite moments of Avatar. It's not really like a great moment. Is they find these two earthbending boys and they talk about Earth Rumble, and like they won't tell them anything because they're jerks. And then Katara's like, I got it. And then Katara like water bends them into submission, into telling them where everything is at. And we'll get back to them later. Actually, it's not. Anyway, I'll go ahead and say my favorite moment. They go back to them since I'm already talking about it, and then they make them tell them where Toph is at. We're jumping around all over here, but whatever. And then just like when they leave them, yeah, when they leave them, Katara's like, I got my eyes on you, and then Sokka walks out, just like, Water Tribe. He just walks out of there. It's like one of the most like non-gangster things that a character on Avatar could do.
It's like it's a Weird Al moment, like, is what that is.
Only thing was missing was like a gang sign, just like Water Tribe, and just walk out.
The W, I like that. That's what it is. I tried to do it right there, and I can't even do it right, so I'm not going to try to throw up gang signs anymore.
Well, this was just, yeah.
I tried to do it like real quick and smooth, and my fingers like tripped over each other. I couldn't even do it right. That's how gangsta I am.
Yeah, we're getting real stereotypically here, where the black guy is trying to show the white guy how to do gang signs. I don't know much. I mean, I say I don't, but actually I kind of do. But anyway, West Coast that's not really a gang sign. West Coast.
That's just a W. Yeah. I will say that we already got pretty stereotypy when we said that all Russians in movies are villains. And then, Chris, yesterday I played a game of softball where the opposing team, a great sense of humor, had like a goofy playlist on, just with every array of things. And it was goofy the whole time. So when they started playing Gangsta Paradise, naturally I thought it was going to be Weird Al's Amish Paradise, because everything else they had on was like goofy, funny stuff, and then it wasn't. And I'm not gonna lie, like for a minute, I didn't recognize the song. Like I was listening to the words, I was like, "What is this?" Oh yeah, never mind. It took me a solid couple of seconds, in the words of John Mulaney, to recognize what that song was, and I'm not proud of that. I was like, "Wait a minute, these aren't the lyrics." Anyway, I totally glossed over like all that stuff that happened, if for no other reason than I'm excited to get to the part where you talked about the other wrestlers, and you didn't get to the most exciting one.
Yeah, you can.
So
go ahead.
Mick Foley is the Boulder, which aka Dude Love, aka Cactus Jack, aka Mankind, and then also has a very mediocre autobiography if you're interested. It's not as good as The Rock's, but I was a fan of wrestling in probably the early 2000s, give or take. So like, I don't know, maybe 99 to like 03. Rock, Triple H, Mankind heyday. And so it's very exciting for me. Yeah, it was just a good time in wrestling. I think that was probably the peak of wrestling as we know it today.
It was definitely the peak of wrestling.
Truly entertaining. And so I think what makes this most exciting for me though is, first of all, the punny name, the Boulder. Like, it's just a great Earthbender name. Second of all, you watched it with commentary, and I think it was you that told me originally. Wasn't it supposed, like, they wanted The Rock to be involved and to actually call him The Rock? And whether he was unavailable or didn't accept.
Yeah, well, they weren't going to call him The Rock. They were calling him The Boulder, which was after The Rock. Yeah, he was clearly inspired by The Rock, and they've said that before. But they wanted to get The Rock to voice him, but he was... If I had to guess, The Rock turned it down because The Rock is pretty...
He was a little busy at that time.
Yeah, even then in 2003, although I think he was probably working on The Mommy 3 or something, which is a crap movie.
Walking Tall is mediocre, or what's the other? The Rundown. There was a lot of mediocre action in The Rock's early acting career. That's right.
So instead, they got the second best thing. Like you said, they got Mick Foley. And Mick Foley, I think... Gosh, how different do you think this would sound if it was The Rock? Like, it would be probably...
The point I'm going to get to is that it might actually be better. If The Rock was in it, it'd have been great. I'd have loved it. I'd have ate it up.
Yeah.
But in a weird way, knowing that it's supposed to be The Rock, and then we get the punny name, The Boulder, instead of The Rock, and then having sort of Mick Foley's maybe goofier charisma to it, in a weird way, that might be better. And like I said, knowing the whole story makes it better in my mind. So I'd love to know why The Rock turned it down, just out of curiosity, just to add to the story. But it's so exciting just to hear Mick Foley's voice, and it takes a few minutes. You're listening, you're like, why does that sound familiar? Why does it fit so well here? Oh, that's why. And that's so exciting. The first time he told me that, I was so jacked up, and he does a great job too. So that's my fanboy moment is over. You can skip his autobiography; it's really not that good, but he's a very interesting human. Do you want to describe the fight? Break the fight down. It's
so this fight is the Boulder versus Toph, and this is when we first see Toph, and when she comes out, like Sokka is like cheering on the Boulder to like destroy Toph, and Katara thinks it's just like for the show that she's blind, and when she bends, I absolutely love it. Like, she's in the praying mantis, the southern praying mantis, because there's actually a northern praying mantis and southern praying mantis, and they're actually completely different. But she's in the southern praying mantis style, and she just like shifts her foot just slightly, just to like stomp the ground, and she kind of sense when the Boulder's movements are going to come, and like when he earth bends, she sees it, and then she completely, before he even realizes it, like she makes him split his legs, essentially. And then she just, and I love when Toph attacks sometimes, she does this hand motion that's just like 3 fingers out. For some reason, just visually, it's just really pleasing to me. And just like, and 3 like big spikes come up and hit him out the ring.
I thought about it a little bit, about some of those movements that you're mentioning and why they're sort of aesthetically pleasing. And I think it's the amount of detail. Like, there's a lot of animation in this series that's very good, but it's still not like, I don't know, there's still not such careful detail as there is up to this point in the series as there is in her movements. We get some great stuff in other places, but I think hers is in the most sort of deliberate detail. Maybe that's what I'm looking for.
Yes, and we know that Sifu Kisu, who is the martial arts consultant on the show, pretty much laid out like the bending principles for everyone. Like, all right, earth bendings will use southern hard tiger crane style, which is Hungar style, and how firebenders will use northern Shaolin style. But so when they came to him, it's like, all right, we have this new earthbender and she's blind, and we don't really know, how you think she's a fight. And he was like, oh, let me get my friend. And his friend's name is Sifu Manuel Rodriguez, I think. And in that Avatar special, like he looks very unassuming. Like he's kind of like a little chubby, has
He
like
is.
long
Yes, he
hair,
is.
and
He looks like
and
the
like wears
worst version of
glasses.
Steven Seagal.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that's good. Um, but then like when you see him fight and he does like the pre-match style, like he's so quick with it. And and also something to learn from the commentary is he was talking to Mike and Brian about the lore or the legends of the Southern Praying Mantis style, how coincidentally enough, and the legend and their background of it is that one of the first inventors of the Southern Praying Mantis style was a blind woman. So they're like, oh,
That's
wow,
a nice
this is
illusion.
yeah, this is really fitting. Like we have our blind character Toph, you know, and her fighting style, it derives from a blind woman. So it's really cool. And also they train in the blind. And so that's why it's all about like feeling and touching and how to get within your opponent's space. It's just all really, really interesting.
I mean, earthbending is very tactile, so that makes a lot of sense. And that is a very cool fun fact and very appropriate. But they didn't know that when they developed Toph?
No,
Or
they didn't.
That's, that's kind of crazy.
Toph was already blind, and then they went to see Fukisu, and then he went to his friend, and then they were like, yeah, this style would be good for her. So yeah, it's really cool.
Turns
Also
out they were right.
about Toph, yeah. Also, fun fact about Toph is that she was originally supposed to be a boy, but then Aaron Ehaus, like in the writers' room, Aaron Ehaus, the head writer of Avatar and also the creator of the Dragon Prince or co-creator, really fought hard for her to be a girl. And actually, Brian Konietzko was a little bit against it, like, and then now he's like, man, I'm really glad that I lost that fight because Toph is an amazing character. Like the name was Toph to begin with, but then they just changed her to a girl.
That's awesome. I think it's hard to imagine what it'd be like with a boy, but I think it'd be far less charming, maybe.
Yeah.
Like we have this young woman who defies so many conventions in so many ways. I think it's just more interesting that she's a girl.
Exactly. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I won't pretend that I remember the details of the other fight, but I will suffice it to say that it's not challenging for Toph at all. To like an air of Sokka's great disappointment that it is not a challenge for Toph at all, really. And like I said, I can't necessarily break down the details the way you did. I just there's sort of an overwhelming feel of this she's gonna go unmatched. Absolutely, and they do a nice job of portraying that how above and beyond talented she is. And I think after that,
yeah. So after
ahead.
that, someone can challenge Toph to a fight, and so Aang does it because Aang is like, oh yeah, I want to talk to her, and then they fight, and then like she can't land like a real hit on Aang because he's just like going with it, like he just kind of bounces off of it and it floats somewhere else. And she calls him Twinkle Toes for the first time. No, she doesn't call him Twinkle Toes yet. Or does she? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think she does.
Okay.
Gosh, I can't remember. I feel like she does though, yeah.
Yeah, and then Aang blocks her and he airbends at her and throws her out the ring, and she's really pissed off about it. So when she lost her belt, like this is her like secret life, like of course she's mad about it. Someone took that away from her. That's the only place she can feel like herself. So then Aang and the crew try and track her down, and they go and find the boys again. They tell them about the Beifong family, how they're the richest family, but they don't have a daughter. And their signia is the flying boar, and that's what Aang saw in his vision in the swamp.
I kind of forgot about that. That's a nice illusion. And yeah, so what it amounts to is they become determined to we gotta find this person. This person needs teaching to Earthbend. Very literally waits and sees, and that's where the two boys come back into play, right? The two kids that Katara froze earlier to show. Did they use the sigil? They used the sigil to locate the family. Is that right?
Yep.
The blind boar. Yeah. And so, long story short, they end up at dinner with the Beifong family. I kind of forget how it goes down. They just go up and like knock on the door, and they're looking for
pretty much.
And they're looking for somebody.
Well, he's got Aang's the Avatar, so like he's an invited guest wherever he goes, and he used that a lot of times, I think. So like they're like, oh, you have a guest, the Avatar. Like, oh, well, welcome the Avatar in, and then they have dinner with the Avatar. And he's like, yeah, I'm looking for a teacher, and he's kind of making all of these like comments that hints that Toph is really great Earthbender, even though she's trying to hide it.
Yeah.
Because her parents are really protective of her, so they sheltered her, they kept her in the house, and she's always guarded because they think she's weak because she's blind. That can't be farther from the truth. Eventually, Toph finally like talks with Aang alone, and she kind of gives him like a little backstory, just a slight backstory on how she can earthbend, how she can like see everything. She can see the ants like yards away, like just how amazing she is. And then like Aang, asks her to be her teacher, but she can't because her parents won't let her.
I can recall more and more of the awkward dinner scene now. I don't know why it wasn't coming back to me. But, so Aang's trying to talk her into it. And then the bad guys, led by the Russian heel from the wrestling event. I can't think of it. What was it called? Just the Earthbending Rumble.
I think Earth Rumble.
Earth Rumble, that's right. And so they come and they kidnap Toph, which I do find a little disappointing. I feel like she should not be kidnappable, but maybe that's the creator's way of letting us know that she's not invincible.
Yeah, maybe. Because, she should have saw them coming. Like, a group of really big 6 men she can see, like, within, I don't know, a football field, probably.
It's a little disappointing that it happened that way, but whatever. Like I said, maybe it was the creator's way of maybe reminding us that she's young or overconfident or something. I don't know. It had to happen for story. Yeah. # story reasons. And so they kidnap her. And it's actually a little, relative to some of the episode stories complex, is that the Beifong parents actually accuse Aang of doing it, of kidnapping her. And that to me was always kind of interesting. That I don't know, it's maybe a little more depth than I would expect out of a kids TV show. And so then obviously Aang has to rescue her, get her back, and I forget exactly how it goes down, but the Beifongs offer money to what's his name? I can't think of his name, the Russian guy.
They kidnap Aang. They kidnap Aang and Toph.
That's right. And and they give the Russian guy money to go rescue Toph from Aang, quote unquote.
They give the instructor money to go give the kidnappers so they can get Toph back, but they don't care about Aang.
That's right.
So then when they get there, they let Toph go because they give him the money, and then Katara and Sokka's like, Toph, you're the only person that can save him. So then her dad has this like stupid long speech where it's like, my daughter is blind, she can't do anything, she is weak and fragile and blind. And she's like, no, I can't help. So then that's when she gets in the ring. She has to fight like all of these men, every single one of them, and she does it by herself. And she's such a freaking BA. Like she one thing, she pulls the dust in, like she earthbends to a point where like all the dust comes up. So now everyone is blind. And it's such a great like storytelling tool that now her opponents have to live with what she's been living with her whole life, but they're not built for that.
Cue the Batman speech right
now. Yeah. So she takes them all out. Go ahead.
I was going to say the part of this that I think I forgot that was bugging me was that I had to go to Wikipedia really quick. Something was missing that was bugging me. So Jinfu kidnaps them because he thought they were in cahoots, like that they had cheated him out of the money. And that was the key element I think I was missing, was like they didn't just go kidnap her because they were mad. He felt like he was cheated out of money, so now he's trying to essentially get money paid back to him by kidnapping Toph and Aang. That's the part I was missing. There was a story element. But I apologize for interrupting with my nonsense. My mind is sorted out now.
Yeah. Well, it has been like, I don't know, 2 weeks since you watched the episode. I watched it
least
like an hour ago.
My greatest regret is that I didn't get to watch it again. I literally got in the house like, I don't know, a half hour before I started. My greatest regret is that I didn't get to watch it again just because I enjoy this one so much. But no, that was the missing story element, is he was trying to get money back because he felt like they were in cahoots and cheated him out of money. And that's why this little boy came beat up this little girl and took everybody's money.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a absolutely great fight. Like, she ends up fighting the main, like, Vince McMahon head guy, and she takes him out fairly easily, really, and it ends with Toph like admitting to her father, like, yeah, you know, well, I'm a really good Earthbender, and I love it, like, love being an Earthbender. And you think like, oh, he might have finally got the lesson, like, yeah, you know, I should let my daughter be herself. And instead, he went the opposite way. It was like, well, this only proves that you need more restraint, and you need to be guarded even more. And unfortunately, like, he now tells Aang to leave, and then once they're about to leave, Toph runs away from home, and she joins them. And a really great moment. Also, I want to backtrack here for a minute. Sokka went shopping and bought a purse, a very nice purse that matches the belt. So when Aang won the belt, he was like, "Oh yeah, I really like the purse now. It matches the belt." Just some nice Sokka humor in this episode. This is the first time we realize that Sokka really loves shopping, because he shops a lot more in the future.
He does. I don't know if that ever occurred to me until just now.
Yeah, that's where that love started. So then when Toph comes back, like, she wants the belt. So like, Aang is like, you're going to be a great teacher. And she's like, yeah, you know what? I got some to teach you right now. So come and look. So right when he lands, she just like hits him with an earth bending thing, and he flies into a tree. And then she's like, I'll take the belt back. And then Sokka takes it off and throws it at her. She doesn't see it. So it just hits her in the face.
My gosh. Listen, things coming through the air, that's still a weak point for her. I forgot about that. That's beautiful. It's poetic injustice is what that is. Yeah. Poetic injustice.
Gosh. So I love that clip for a lot of reasons. In my is Sokka the father of Su Yin, the daughter of Toph. Like, that's one of part of my intro in it, and it's kind of just epitomizes like Sokka throwing something at Toph epitomizes that he is not the father, really. Like, I kind of, in a way, was trying to foreshadow that. Like, no, Sokka doesn't care about Toph that way. He doesn't love her. So
that's a weird Mario reveal. I dig it.
Yeah.
The parents getting restrictive is another part where, again, it struck me as maybe, I guess all I'm trying to get at is we get through the WrestleMania portion, and it has the vibes of like this sort of goofier episode. A lighter-hearted one, but again, the things with like parents straight up turning on the Avatar thinking he's a kidnapper, and now we've got this, I would say, fairly realistic portrayal of parents, where as much as we all kind of want to have like a fairy tale moment in our life and be like, hey, this is where I turned a corner and became a great person, that's not really how life works. And you know what, there's a good chance that in that situation parents would be more restrictive, like, hey, you've been sneaking out from under our care, we thought we were being careful, we weren't. They're not just going to suddenly lighten up. They're probably going to get more restricted. Like, that's a realistic picture, even if it's not a fun one. But it just caught me as, like, sort of surprisingly a different mood than the rest of the episode. Not in a bad way. I sort of wasn't expecting. Yeah. I was expecting what everybody else wanted, which is, we're so proud of you. Go with the Avatar, save the world. And no, this was kind of more real. And it snuck up on me a little bit. Maybe not.
Yeah, so then they send these two odd couple together to go capture Toph again, because they believe the Avatar kidnapped her. So it leads into, you know, further stuff. So really glad that happened. Ooh, that's a good what if video. Like, what if her parents were actually understanding, she might have never learned metal bending. So,
That's pretty. That's messed up. You just changed the trajectory of earthbending for a century, Chris, with that one sentence.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Holy crap. Okay, now I got a video
Got a
idea.
new
Hopefully no
video.
one steals this.
Man, one of our 10 people that listens gonna steal this video. No,
Like, and they will also have to be YouTubers. Like, this is such a
actually, that's a pretty narrow little niche. But
uh,
you know what? If somebody does steal it, you just straight up debate them, and whatever they say, just be contradictory and be better than they are. That's contradict and better. Attack. Um, listen and wait before attacking, and then yeah, and that kind of leads into the next couple of episodes. But we wanted just to do one episode tonight. I say we. It could have just been me. Maybe you didn't care. But just one episode because I really enjoy this one, and it's fun to give Toph sort of her own full introduction. And it's just
this
really
is a
good
very
episode.
heavy Toph episode.
It is. It's almost pure Toph, and I dig it.
Yeah.
Especially because the next few episodes aren't the most flattering of Toph. Like, this episode's kind of cool and fun, but the next few aren't really showing like a side that makes her anybody's favorite character. I don't think. I think that takes a while.
No.
There's a dip in the character development string here, but that's good. That's part of what makes her come along in the end and endear her to so many. But long story short, I think this episode needed to be done alone. I'm glad we did it this way. I don't think I have anything else. You want to get to some scores?
Yep. All right, so if you're new here, we actually do score these and break them out into 3 sections. So the first section of story, I gave
audiovisual first.
Audiovisual. Gosh, why do I? Oh, that's just the way I do my reviews. I always start off with story. Movie reviews. No.
And you
Anyway,
know what? I gotta be honest,
audiovisual.
I have no idea why I organized them the way that I did, but it was too late. I just kept going. It was too late by the time I thought about it.
Yeah, that's fine. So audiovisual, gave it a 9. The fight is absolutely great. Just the way she uses the dust and this kind of the sand, and just the fighting styles that Toph uses is really great. This is one of those cases where I think the animation is really good. It's not like amazing, but just the actual like physical animation is really great. So 9 out of 10 there. Story gets an 8 out of 10. There's not much story arc change here or any growth here. We just get introduced to a new really great character, so that just gets a 8 out of 10. On to memorable, because we got introduced to such a great character, it gets a 9.5 out of 10. This is one of those amazing first introductions to a character that I think we've ever gotten. I think this is the best introduction to a character in Avatar.
I'd agree with that. Nowhere else does the timing even sort of present itself this way that we could have such a great introduction. I don't know why I'm interrupting you during your scores instead of just saying that during mine.
No.
That's a great
All right,
point.
so
Let me make you feel good about it.
Brings our weighted average score to an 8.6 out of 10.
That's a pretty good episode right there. Spoiler alert, my ratings, same as yours. Different reasons, though. Audio-visual,
okay.
I tend to be... when I look back at my previous episodes, the thing that tends to get me with audio-visual is if I see maybe a lot of different things done well. And we have that here. We've got several different environments, different styles and pacing of music. I distinctly love the two sides of Toph. Like you get Earthbending Rumble Toph versus Beifong Toph, and those environments, they do a really nice job of depicting that dichotomy.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
9, maybe could have scratched 9.5. I just don't have that kind of guts. So 9. Story, there's it leads into a good story. This dramatic string over the next couple of episodes of Toph being integrated into the group is a really powerful story. But we don't get all that here. Just getting the first taste of it. So I can't go much higher than 8. I'd love to because it's very interesting, but as it stands by itself, 8, nothing wrong with an 8. Memorable, 9.5. Specifically, the wrestling, the Rumble itself, and like I said, the dramatic shift from the great sort of hilarious, lighthearted Rumble scenes to later a couple things that, at least this time, and I'm sure they did the first time I watched it through, catching me just a little bit off guard as shifting gears emotionally a little faster than I expected. All those lead into a pretty memorable episode. So because my weights are different, mine came out to an 8.8. even though we had the exact same scores. I don't know if that's a flaw or a good thing. I can't decide. Long story short,
it's a good thing.
It's a really great episode, and we love it, and we'd recommend it. That wraps up a lot of things that we love about Avatar into one episode. Just oh, I'm cutting out here, Chris. You chime in.
So 8.7 out of 10. Really great episode. So in I really never know how to really wrap these things up.
I don't either,
In conclusion, Toph is a BA, and we're going to see even more BA Toph moments to come. So
I do think
it's a really great introduction.
I think this episode, what I was trying to get before I got choked up. I was so sad I choked up. Darn sinus infection. It wraps up a lot of different things that we like about Avatar, which is there's very dynamic, unique characters, some story elements that feel real and kind of powerful, but a lot of lighthearted things too. It just if you were gonna pick an episode to have a non-Avatar fan watch, this could be in there. I think they'd miss a little from context.
I think so. Yeah.
This one would fit nicely, and you'd get all of the morals without needing all the background, and that's probably why we like it at its core. I think. That's a wrap. That's all I got. We'll be back. We will be back in 2 weeks. I don't really remember the next episode so much, so I'll make sure I watch that one again. But I know that Chris likes it.
It's great. So, yeah.
I know it's a very emotionally driven episode, and so it'll be a little bit of a shift in gears from this one. And also, again, like I mentioned, what we see, much as I love Toph, what we see of Toph in the next few episodes, not Toph's best side. So there's some of that that I think pops up immediately in the next episode as well. So pretty interesting. 2 weeks from now, Thursday night. It'll be up by Friday morning. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. If you have thoughts or missed details from the Toph Bumi fight, I think we'd both be interested to hear. It's a big series. We'd love to know what details we missed. And especially if you pick out details from within the TV show that we've missed, not necessarily the outside canon, I will certainly be very grateful, as I overlook things all the time and would love to know more. So, hey, tell us what you think there. If you're
and if I'm being a little bit pretentious enough, if anyone has any questions for us, I don't mind answering random questions. So go ahead and hit me up on Twitter, email. I think our email's on here. Maybe not. I don't know. theobjectivegeek@gmail.com. You guys can email me there.
I do mind being asked questions. I'm just going to redirect them all to Chris and await the answer also, because your questions are going to be better than what I can answer. So, but I will happily listen for an answer with you. Yeah, get Chris at objective_geek on Twitter. Mine's Shawn Shaler on Twitter. I'll make sure those are in the description below. Or go watch Chris's videos on YouTube. Leave him some comments if you're thinking about it and it's related to Avatar. If he hasn't already made a video about it, chances are he might want to in the future. So go drop him a comment after you watch his videos. Thank you guys very much for hanging out. And we look forward to talking again in a couple of weeks about a very emotional episode. I'll make sure I'm in the right state of mind to take that one in when the time comes. Chris, great to talk to you again. I will talk to you soon.
Peace.